They say you can tell when something's off in a relationship, not always from a big moment, but from the quiet things. The way someone holds eye contact a second too long. The way they answer a question before you finish asking. Or how silence starts feeling heavier than it used to. Ellie's flight from Chicago landed just after 9 p.m. on a Thursday. I remember because I'd left work early to beat the rush and get there in time, like I always did when she traveled. She wasn't one to ask for gestures, but I liked being there. I liked seeing her first in the crowd, the way her face always softened when she spotted me. Except this time it didn't. She looked composed. That was the word. Not tired, not stressed, just perfectly composed. Her bag rolled behind her like it weighed nothing. She had on a slim navy coat, hair pulled into a low ponytail, and her face was made up just enough to look effortless. It was only when I hugged her, feeling her body tense for a split second too long, that something inside me whispered, "Pay attention." Then I saw the earrings. Gold. Subtle, but they caught the fluorescent lights above us with a glint that said new. I knew Ellie's style like I knew the back of my hand. She didn't buy jewelry on a whim. Every piece had a story, either a birthday, a promotion, or a small memory we'd shared together. These weren't from any of those. New earrings? I asked casually. Too casually, maybe. She touched one reflexively, like she forgot she was wearing them. "Oh," she said almost too brightly. "Yeah. The hotel gave them out to their VIP guests. Kind of a loyalty gift, I guess. Perks of being a regular." I smiled, nodded. I didn't press her. Not yet. But something stuck in my mind the whole drive home. Not just the earrings, the explanation. Ellie hated hotel perks. She once ranted about a bathrobe she didn't ask for showing up in her room and how corporate generosity always came with a catch. And now she was excited about free jewelry? We got home around 10:15. She dropped her bag in the foyer like always, kicked off her boots. I offered to reheat the leftover pasta from the night before, but she just shook her head and said she'd grab something later, said she wanted a shower. As the water ran upstairs, I stood in the kitchen, replaying her smile at the airport. There was something in it I hadn't seen before, or maybe something that wasn't there anymore. I don't know. It was like hugging a ghost of her. I didn't mean to check her phone. Honest to God, I didn't, but it was there, face up on the dresser in our room, and when it lit up, I instinctively glanced at it. Just a glance. And then everything changed. Unknown number. "The earrings suit you. Next time, a ring." I stared at it. Not breathing. Not blinking. Then another message came through. Same number. "You looked beautiful. I miss you already." I picked up the phone. Hands trembling. Heartbeat in my ears. I didn't unlock it. I couldn't. But that was enough. That was already too much. I took a **T, forwarded it to myself, and saved the number in my contacts under a fake name. Repair guy. Stupid, I know. But I wasn't thinking straight. My mind was racing with questions I didn't want answers to. What kind of hotel gives gold earrings? What kind of colleague says next time? A ring? What kind of wife lies with a straight face and then smiles like nothing's happened? The water shut off. I put the phone back exactly where it was, walked out of the room, and sat on the living room couch like nothing was wrong. When she came downstairs 10 minutes later, hair wet and tied back, wearing my old hoodie and a pair of leggings, she acted like the same woman I married. She curled up beside me and asked, "Catch any good games while I was gone?" "Not really," I said, eyes fixed on the TV. "Just highlights." She nodded, pulling a throw blanket over her legs, scrolling her phone like everything was normal. It was the longest 2 hours of television I'd ever sat through. Later that night, when we climbed into bed, she reached for my hand beneath the covers. And I held it. I held it because I didn't know what else to do. Because even though my stomach was in knots, my brain kept trying to find an explanation that didn't involve betrayal. Maybe it was a weird message. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe. But her thumb stroked the back of my hand, and it felt practiced. Mechanical. Not warm. Not tender. Like she was going through the motions of something that used to be real. I didn't sleep much. The next morning, I woke up before her. She was turned away from me, curled up like she always did when she was trying to retreat into herself. I stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at her, really looking, trying to see what had changed. Her bag still sat in the foyer. She hadn't even unpacked. I opened it quietly, not rifling, just checking. Inside was the usual, travel-sized shampoo, a worn paperback novel, receipts from a few cafes. But then I saw a little gift bag. White, with a boutique logo I didn't recognize. La Mer and Company. Inside was a velvet box. Empty. That was it. No receipt. Just the box. I looked up the boutique. It was a luxury jeweler with a store located in downtown Chicago, nowhere near her hotel, and definitely not the kind of place that gave freebies to business travelers. I zipped the bag back up and returned it exactly how I found it. When she came downstairs an hour later, she smiled and kissed me on the cheek. "I've got a briefing this morning," she said. "Might run late, don't wait up." "Got it," I said, sipping my coffee. We didn't talk about the earrings. We didn't talk about the text. We didn't talk about anything that mattered. She left wearing the same earrings, her hair tucked behind one ear so they caught the light just right. She smiled again before walking out the door. And for the first time in 8 years, I didn't smile back. It's amazing how fast the smallest details start to unravel everything you thought was solid. One minute, I was wondering if I was just overthinking things. If maybe I was stressed, reading into too much. The next, I couldn't stop seeing it. The shift. The difference. The lie about the earrings wasn't loud or dramatic. It was small, smooth, practiced. But after that night, everything I'd ignored before came into sharper focus. Ellie had always hated staying late at work. She used to call it soul-stealing corporate overtime. Even joked about keeping a running tally of every unpaid hour she wanted back. But for the last month, or maybe longer, she'd suddenly become the most dedicated employee in the city. "Briefings," she'd say over coffee. "Client check-ins. Team retros." I nodded at first, even encouraged it. I thought maybe she was finally getting the promotion she'd hinted at last quarter. But the way she said it, it wasn't the work talk I was used to. It was vague, empty, like it was just meant to fill space between us. And I started noticing other things too. The tone. That's what really got me. There used to be warmth in her voice, especially when she talked to me about nothing. She used to ask me how my day was, even when hers was bad. She'd listen when I vented about deadlines or office politics or whatever thing my manager had done to tick me off. Now, felt like a script, like she was pulling lines from some relationship handbook, keeping just enough normalcy to stay off the radar. I'd tell her about something that happened at work, and she'd nod, maybe say, "That's wild," before checking her phone again. I started keeping track quietly, not because I wanted to trap her. I just needed to be sure I wasn't imagining it. Tuesday night. She said she had a strategy alignment call at 7:30. Walked into the spare bedroom, shut the door behind her. I waited outside like a maniac, ear pressed to the door like I was trying to catch ghosts. I couldn't hear much, just her voice, low and laughing. That laugh? It wasn't the one I got anymore. It was softer, more genuine. Like whoever was on the other side still deserved that version of her. She came out around 8:40. I asked, "How'd the call go?" She blinked for a second, just a second too long, and said, "Oh, it was fine. Dry. You know how it is." Then she kissed my temple and said she needed to finish a report. Thursday. She came home late, claimed the subway was delayed, said there was a signal issue and the train had been stuck underground. I asked, "Which line?" She paused, then said, "Blue." There's no blue line near her office. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and told her dinner was still warm. Friday came, and with it, the weekend I used to look forward to. We had this routine, Saturday morning walks through the park, coffee at that tiny cafe on 8th Street, maybe a stop at the bookstore if we had time. We'd started it years ago, back when we were broke and bored and needed something simple to ground us. She used to love it, but now, she forgot. Said she had to pop into the office for a few hours. Something about a client deck that needed last-minute revisions. I stayed home, sat on the bench near the window, and watched the street. She left at 10:04 a.m. wearing a casual dress and boots. No laptop bag. No presentation materials. Not even her work ID, which she always wore clipped to her purse. She looked relaxed, lighter. She didn't come back until 5. No shopping bags. No work files. No explanation. I didn't ask. I just stood at the kitchen counter, chopping vegetables for dinner, and said, "Everything good?" She said, "Mom," and grabbed a bottle of wine. That night, she scrolled through her phone while we ate, barely looked at me. I asked if she wanted to watch a movie, something light, maybe that new comedy we'd both marked weeks ago. She said she was tired. Said she had to catch up on some reading. I found her asleep on the couch an hour later, phone still in her hand. The screen was black. I touched it gently. Locked. I sat down beside her, not sure if I wanted to cry or scream or shake her awake and ask what happened to us. Instead, I picked up her phone, pressed the power button, and set it on the coffee table. Then I went upstairs and lay in bed, alone, wondering if maybe this was how people drift apart, not with a bang, but with silence. The next morning, I got up early and made pancakes, her favorite. Banana and chocolate chip. She used to joke that it was the only thing I knew how to cook without messing up. When she came down, she smiled like she appreciated the effort. But there was something in her eyes, discomfort, maybe? Guilt? She took one bite, then said she wasn't that hungry. Said she'd just have coffee. She didn't finish that either. By Sunday, I stopped trying to hold on to the little rituals. I didn't suggest brunch or a movie or that board game we used to pull out when it rained. I just let her be. Gave her the space she seemed to want. Or maybe the space she needed to keep hiding whatever life she was starting to build outside of this house. She still kissed me goodbye on Monday morning. Still texted me hope your day's not too crazy around lunch. Still sent a thumbs up emoji when I said I'd ordered dinner. But it all felt robotic. Like a digital leash. By Thursday, I was staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering when I had stopped being her person. I kept thinking about the earrings. The velvet box. The messages. The message next time, a ring. Not a joke. Not a spam text. A promise. And she'd smiled when I asked about them. Smiled and lied. I started looking through our shared calendar app. She'd stopped updating it. 3 late meetings this week, none of them mentioned in her synced events. Her work Slack used to ping regularly when she was home, group messages, client updates. That week it was silent. She wasn't even pretending anymore. That Saturday she said she was meeting the team for drinks. Said they were celebrating a big milestone. She didn't invite me. Didn't even ask if I had plans. Just walked out the door at 6:30 wearing the earrings, a new dress, and heels I hadn't seen since our anniversary dinner 2 years ago. I didn't follow her. Didn't call. Didn't ask when she'd be back. Instead, I poured myself a drink, sat on the porch, and stared at the streetlights until the sky turned from blue to purple to black. She came back after midnight. Quietly. Like she didn't want to wake me. I watched from the staircase, just out of sight, as she kicked off her shoes and tiptoed to the kitchen. She stood there for a moment, staring at the sink. Not doing anything. Not moving. Then she sighed. Deep. Like she was carrying something. And for a second, just 1 second, I thought maybe she was about to break. Maybe she'd walk upstairs, sit on the bed, and finally tell me what I already knew. But she didn't. She turned off the light, walked to the guest room, and shut the door behind her. I guess there's always a tipping point. A moment when doubt stops whispering and starts shouting. For me, that moment came on a rainy Tuesday. Ellie had forgotten to log out of her cloud account on her home tablet. Or maybe she didn't forget. Maybe she just stopped caring if I found something. Either way, it was there, open, syncing in real time, sitting on the kitchen counter like a loaded G*N, just waiting for someone to pull the trigger. It started with photos. I wasn't even trying to snoop, not really. I tapped into the gallery just to see if it was still linked, and there they were, dozens of new pictures under a folder titled Work Trip, Chicago. Only it wasn't conference rooms and skyline *TS like I expected. It was her. Ellie. Laughing in a rooftop bar, sipping wine under dim lights, her hand resting lightly on someone's chest. Him. Tall. Clean-cut. Dark suit, no tie. That brand of effortless confidence I couldn't replicate if I tried. In one picture, they were side by side at dinner, his arm wrapped around her shoulder. In another, he was leaning in close while she whispered something into his ear. I studied their body language like a detective, her smile open, unguarded, his posture relaxed, like this wasn't the first time. It wasn't work. Not even close. Then came the video. Just 20 seconds long, shaky and out of focus. She was sitting on his lap in what looked like a private lounge. Her heels dangled off one foot, her arms wrapped around his neck. And then, clear as day, I heard her voice. Josh won't suspect a thing, he's too naive. She laughed. He kissed her. My heart caved in. I didn't even realize I'd dropped the tablet until it hit the floor with a dull thud. It didn't break, but something inside me felt like it had. I stood there in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the house, the rain tapping against the windows like it had something to say. I picked up the tablet again and sat at the table, shaking. I went through every folder, every screenshot, every saved image. Most were innocuous, landmarks, coffee cups, a selfie or two. But the further I scrolled, the clearer it became. There were pictures from more than just Chicago. New York, Miami, San Diego, each with the same man. Same smirk. Same arm around her waist. Different dates. Different lies. I should have confronted her right then. Should have thrown the tablet across the room or waited for her to walk through the door so I could demand an explanation. But I didn't. I sat in silence. 4 hours. Because part of me still needed to understand why. That night, Ellie came home like nothing was wrong. She kissed my cheek, asked if I wanted Thai or Mexican for dinner. I mumbled something about not being hungry. She nodded, grabbed her laptop, and disappeared into the guest room again. I stared at the hallway after she left, heart pounding, hands trembling. Then I made a choice. If she was going to lie, I was going to find out just how deep it ran. I started with the calendar, backtracking every work trip she'd taken over the past 6 months. Then I opened my laptop and logged into the shared travel points account we'd both used for years. The dates matched. The cities matched. But the bookings? They told a different story. She wasn't traveling alone. Every hotel stay had 2 guests listed. 2 breakfasts included. 2 tickets for spa services, romantic dinners, wine tastings. I went deeper. Train tickets, ride shares, restaurant reservations under names I didn't recognize, but when I called the places, asked about Ellie Walters, they remembered her. Oh yes, she came with her husband, one receptionist said. Tall guy in a gray suit. They looked like they were celebrating something. Husband. Right? The lie had taken root and it was thriving. My phone buzzed. A message from her. Hey, I'm going to be late tomorrow. Early meeting and then drinks with a client. I stared at it, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Client. I typed, then erased it. What was the point? Instead, I responded. Okay. Be safe. That night, I went to bed without saying goodnight. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. By Thursday morning, the weight of what I knew was unbearable. I kept replaying that video in my mind. Her voice. That laugh. That word, naive. It burned. When she left for her early meeting, I sat down at the kitchen table and opened a new document. I titled it Evidence. It felt absurd, like I was some betrayed character in a courtroom drama. But this was real. And I needed to protect myself. I saved every photo, every hotel receipt, every calendar conflict. Ted the messages. The forwarded emails. I included a transcript of the video. Her words, verbatim. Josh won't suspect a thing, he's too naive. I stared at that sentence until my eyes blurred. Then I sent the entire folder to a secure backup drive. Labeled it legal, personal. And I waited. I didn't eat that day. Barely drank water. Just waited for her to come home. I didn't know if I wanted to explode or just fall apart when I saw her face. But she never walked through the door. At 8:17 p.m. she texted. Staying at the Hyatt tonight. Too tired to drive back. Don't worry, love you. The Hyatt. It was 2 miles from her office. She'd driven home from worse traffic in worse weather. I didn't reply. I didn't even bother pretending anymore. I sat in the dark, fingers drumming on the table when my phone buzzed again. But this time it wasn't from her. Unknown number. You deserve the truth. Check your email. I stared at the message. The same number from before? I opened my inbox. One new message. No subject line. No sender info. Inside, a zip file titled For Josh. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the trackpad. Then I clicked. Photos. Dozens of them. High quality. Different angles. Ellie and the same man kissing outside hotels, sharing a meal in candlelight, standing hand in hand outside a theater. Some were recent. Others dated back 6 months. One folder labeled Chats held *TS messages I hadn't seen before. Conversations between her and the man. Explicit. Cruel. I'm not ready to leave him yet. He's good for stability. But you're my escape. I feel bad sometimes. But then I think he'll never know. I closed my laptop. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. There it was. Confirmation. Final. Undeniable. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't some emotional confusion. It was a full-fledged, meticulously covered relationship. And I was the sideshow. Just the guy she came home to. Just the idiot who made pancakes on Sunday. She didn't come home the next day. No message. No call. Just silence. I waited until after midnight, thinking maybe she was trying to avoid another confrontation, or maybe she'd slipped back into that Hyatt bed and decided I wasn't worth the trouble of a check-in. Around 1 a.m. I texted her, "Let me know you're okay." No response. Not even the delivered status. I called twice. Straight to voicemail. There's a particular kind of stillness that settles over a house when someone is missing, not physically gone, not legally missing, but emotionally, spiritually absent in a way that feels louder than any door slam or shouted argument. The silence that Friday morning was deafening. I couldn't focus at work. Emails piled up. I stared at spreadsheets like they were written in another language. Eventually, I just stopped pretending. Shut the laptop. Stared out the window. Her coat still hung on the wall hook by the door. The scent of her shampoo still lingered in the upstairs bathroom. But she wasn't there. Not in the way that mattered. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She's still lying. Want proof? Watch your inbox again. I didn't respond. My fingers hovered over the screen, itching to ask, "Who are you?" Or "Why are you doing this?" But deep down, I knew those questions wouldn't lead to peace. Whoever this person was, this anonymous whistleblower, they weren't my enemy. They were the only one being honest with me. The email arrived 5 minutes later. Another zip folder. I opened it. This time, it wasn't just photos. It was a timeline. February, New York. Hotel reservations for 2. Spa treatments. A dinner bill with 2 entrees, a bottle of Merlot. A note scribbled on the back of a napkin, "You were amazing tonight. Can't wait for our next strategy meeting." March, Miami. Beach selfies. Her in a sunset I'd never seen before, lounging beside him. A boomerang video, her sipping champagne, toasting to the camera. His arm around her bare waist. April, San Diego. A screenshot *T of an Uber receipt, drop-off location, W, La Jolla Boulevard. A side-by-side photo of her entering a hotel with him at her side. He's carrying her bag. She's laughing, head thrown back. Happy. Free. May, Chicago. This one hurt the most. It was the trip she'd just come home from. Same man. Same smile. A photo taken from across the street of them at a sidewalk cafe. She was feeding him a bite of something from her plate. Below it was another message. They've been seeing each other since December. You didn't miss it, you were made to miss it. The last part of the file was a chat transcript. This one was personal. Ugly. Ellie, he's sweet. Still brings me coffee in the morning like we're in year 1. Him, poor guy. Ellie, sometimes I wonder if I should just end it. But he's so comfortable. I like having both. Is that wrong? Him, only if you get caught winking face. I read that one 3 times, my jaw locked so tight I could hear my teeth grinding. I like having both. Not I'm confused. Not I'm struggling. Not even I'm sorry. Just greed. Selfish, calculated greed. I scrolled to the end of the email. There was a line of text I almost missed, written in small gray font beneath the last attachment. You should know the truth before she rewrites it. And with that, the sender vanished again. No name. No reply. Just a flood of pain dropped quietly into my inbox like a grenade without a pin. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. Instead, I sat in the living room with the lamp on and the tablet in my lap, flipping through pictures like I was reviewing evidence in someone else's trial. I couldn't stop. Couldn't put it down. Every image was another nail in the coffin. Another moment of her life that had nothing to do with me. Saturday morning, I texted her again. Ellie, are you okay? An hour later, yes. Just busy. Don't stress. I'll be home soon. Soon. Soon used to mean an hour. A few miles away. A quick stop at the store. Now it was a placeholder. A buffer between her guilt and my heartbreak. She didn't come home Saturday either. On Sunday, I stopped expecting her. I went for a walk instead, something I hadn't done in weeks. The same route we used to take together. Down Maple, across the bridge, past the dog park where she always wanted to stop and pet every golden retriever in sight. I didn't make it that far. I stopped halfway across the bridge, leaned on the rail, and stared at the water below. I wasn't thinking about jumping, nothing like that. I just needed stillness. A moment where I didn't have to pretend anymore. When I got back, there was a new text from the unknown number. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. If you want answers, meet me. Park bench across from City Hall. Black jacket. You'll know me. I stared at it for 5 full minutes. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then I typed the only thing I could think of. Why are you helping me? No response. The next morning I got there early. The sky was gray. Breezy. A few scattered joggers passed by, heads down, earbuds in. I sat on the bench, heart hammering like I was waiting for a verdict. At exactly 10:03 a man approached. Mid-30s, maybe? Black jacket. Sharp features. Familiar. He sat beside me without a word. Took out his phone. Scrolled for a second, then turned the screen toward me. Is this the guy you saw in the photos? He asked. It was him. Ellie's mystery man. Shirtless in a few pics, in bed in one. Arm around her in all of them. I nodded. The man put the phone away. Looked straight ahead. My name's Miles. I used to work with Ellie. About a year ago, we had a thing. Brief. She ended it. Said she wanted to focus on her marriage. I blinked. Said nothing. I believed her, he continued. Then I found out about him. He gestured at the phone. Turns out she moved on before she ended things with me. I was the warm-up act. I finally found my voice. Why tell me now? He sighed like he'd been rehearsing this for weeks. Because I saw what she did to me and then I saw what she was doing to you. And no one deserves to be blindsided like that. I tried to talk to her, warn her to stop. She told me to mind my own business. Said, Josh is fine. He doesn't want the truth. I swallowed hard. She said that. He nodded. I saved everything. Their texts, their meetups, even some voice notes. They joked about you. How careful they were. How you'd never figure it out. He pulled out a flash drive. Held it out. Everything's on here. I'm not looking for revenge. I needed you to know. I took the drive. My hand was shaking. Thanks, I said quietly. He stood. Shoved his hands into his pockets. She's not who you think she is, he said. I learned that the hard way. And then he walked off. No dramatic exit. No big speech. Just gone. I sat on that bench for a long time, the flash drive burning a hole in my pocket. Ellie came home that night. Finally. Walked through the door like she'd just gone out for groceries. I just need to shower, she said. I didn't speak. Not yet. The flash drive sat on the table. Waiting. So was I. When Ellie came through the door that night, I didn't even turn around. She tossed her keys in the bowl by the entryway like she always did, and for a second, just 1 second, I saw a flicker of discomfort in her eyes when she noticed the lights were still on. I was in the living room, sitting in the same spot I'd barely left in 3 days. The TV was on, but the volume was low, playing some mindless nature documentary I wasn't actually watching. Hey, she said, stepping halfway into the room. I didn't look up. I didn't have to. I could feel her presence like static in the air. I didn't know you'd still be up, she added. Silence. She shifted her weight. I'm gonna take a quick shower. I nodded once, slow and detached like my neck barely remembered how to move. As soon as I heard the water turn on, I picked up the flash drive Miles had given me and slipped it into the laptop. I hadn't opened it yet, not because I didn't believe him, but because a small part of me still didn't want to know how bad it really was. I'd already seen the worst of it, hadn't I? The photos. The texts. The hotel bills. The way she laughed when she thought I was too naive to catch on. But I needed to know everything. Inside the flash drive were several folders, each labeled by month. December through May. Each one full of *TS, chat logs, voice memos, even video clips, some of her talking directly to camera, clearly meant for him. Little confessions. Private jokes. Even moments of *Macy, like her describing their first weekend together in nauseating detail. Then I opened the audio recordings. Some were short, less than 10 seconds. Others stretched out, full conversations between Ellie and the man. One stood out immediately. It was from March, the file name labeled train_home.wave. I pressed play. Her voice came through clear, though there was the sound of a train in the background. She was giggling. We pulled it off again, she said. I don't know how he hasn't figured it out. He still believes I was at that corporate training in Boston. I didn't even change the flight confirmation email. His voice, smug, told you. You've got him trained. I bet you could say you were abducted by aliens and he'd make you tea when you got home. Her, laughing, stop it. He's sweet. Just, safe. I paused the clip and stared at the floor, my knuckles white around the edge of the laptop. Sweet. Safe. That's what I'd become. A home base. A break from the real thrill of her double life. I closed the laptop just as I heard the bathroom door creak open. Ellie came down the hallway in a robe, drying her hair with a towel. Josh, she said gently. Can we talk? I looked at her for the first time that night. There was a strange shift in her eyes when I met her gaze, like she sensed something had changed but didn't know yet how deep the water really was. "I'm listening," I said, my voice flat. She walked over and sat on the far edge of the couch. We were separated by cushions, silence, and a canyon of betrayal. "I know things have felt tense," she began, "and I haven't been completely myself lately." I let out a short, bitter breath. "Tense? Not completely herself? Ellie?" I said, and she blinked at the sudden firmness in my voice. "Do you remember a guy named Miles?" Her eyes widened for half a second. It was enough. "Yeah," she said slowly. "We used to work together. A while ago." "You dated him," I said. It wasn't a question. She hesitated. "It was brief, before things got serious with us." "No," I said, shaking my head. "It was after, at least for a little while. And then you moved on to someone else." I watched her jaw tighten. She stood suddenly, pacing a few feet like she needed motion to avoid combustion. "What is this?" she asked. "An interrogation?" "No," I said calmly. "It's just me asking if you want to be honest, for once." She was quiet for a long time. Then finally, she looked at me and said, "I didn't plan for any of this to happen. That's what people say when they don't want to call it what it is. I met him at a networking event," she continued, folding her arms across her chest. "It was supposed to be one dinner. Then it wasn't." "How long?" I asked. 6 months, she said, almost a whisper. "But it wasn't real. It was, God, I don't know, it felt like a break from everything. From pressure. From your life," I finished. She blinked, caught. "You could have talked to me," I said. "You could have said something. Told me you were unhappy. Instead, you created this alternate life where I was a background character." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to hurt you." I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. "Ellie, you are hurting me." She dropped to the couch, buried her face in her hands. "I know," she sobbed. "I know. I thought I could stop before it went too far. But it kept going. And I didn't know how to undo it." "You weren't trying to undo anything," I said. "You were just trying not to get caught." I stood. I couldn't be near her anymore. The air around her felt poisonous. "I don't know what happens next," she said through her tears. "But I don't want to lose you." I didn't answer, because she'd already lost me. The next day, I got a call from a private number. It was Miles. "I didn't want to leave it all in your lap," he said. "There's one more thing you should see. It's not about the affair. It's about how deep she went to keep it hidden. We agreed to meet again. Same bench, same park. When I arrived, he was already sitting there, staring at his phone. He handed it to me without a word. It was a photo. Ellie, holding a gift bag from Lemaire and Company, the same one I'd seen in her suitcase. In the photo, she was standing next to the guy, him. They were in the parking garage of his apartment building, not a hotel. "That's not a business trip," Miles said quietly. "That's a weekend." He scrolled to a chat thread. "Ellie, Josh thinks I'm in Portland next weekend. He won't even notice if I come back Monday instead of Sunday. He's clueless. Ellie, that's why I married him. That one hit harder than the rest. That's why I married him." I stared at the screen, trying to breathe through the punch those words delivered. "I thought you should hear it from someone who's been there," Miles said. "She played me too. I believed her when she said it was just you. But you weren't the only one." I felt sick, hollow, but strangely clear. This wasn't about mistakes anymore. This wasn't about emotional confusion or getting caught up. This was about deception. Intentional, layered, cruel deception. I looked at Miles. "Thank you," I said. He nodded. "I don't need anything from you. Just don't let her rewrite it. You deserve better than that." He stood, zipped his jacket, and walked away. I sat on that bench until dusk, watching the wind ripple the leaves across the pavement. That night, Ellie texted from the other room. "Can we try again tomorrow? Please." I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen and made up my mind. Tomorrow wasn't going to be a new beginning. It was going to be the reckoning. Ellie came home the next evening under the pretense of grabbing some clothes. But we both knew what this was, her last chance to spin it, rewrite the ending. I was ready. On the kitchen table, I'd laid everything out like evidence in a trial. Printed emails, chat logs, hotel bookings, voice transcripts. The flash drive sat beside them like a final nail. Her eyes locked on the pile, and for the first time since this began, she looked scared. She didn't deny it, didn't cry, didn't even try to explain at first. She just stood there frozen, mouth slightly open, like her brain couldn't form the version of the truth that made this forgivable. Finally, she spoke. Josh, it's not what you think. I almost laughed. I think it's exactly what it looks like. She sat down, her hands trembling. It started as a mistake. I didn't mean for it to go so far. You were always so good to me, I thought I had more time to fix it. Fix it? I asked. Ellie, you weren't trying to fix anything. You were just trying not to get caught. She went quiet again. I let the silence speak. Look, I said finally, calmly. You made your choice. You had months to choose something else. Now it's my turn. She looked up, startled. You're ending this? She asked, like she was surprised I'd actually go through with it. I already did, I said. Now I'm just helping you pack. I walked her to the door after she finished. She had her suitcase, her phone, and the earrings still in her ears. Not one tear. Not from either of us. She paused at the threshold. I know you don't believe me, but I did love you. I nodded once. That's the part that hurts the most. And I shut the door. The next day, I sent a message to a woman named Brianna. I found her name listed on one of the man's online profiles, his wife. A beautiful smile beside 2 kids. A life just as unaware as mine had been. I kept it brief. I told her who I was, attached the evidence, and offered to talk if she wanted answers. She replied within the hour. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. She was composed more than I expected. We compared timelines, connected the dots, confirmed it all. She thanked me not with rage, but with a sad kind of relief. I thought I was crazy, she said. Turns out I was just trusting the wrong person. We didn't just swap stories. We made a plan. She worked in compliance. I worked in data. We knew how to build a case. And we knew where to send it. Both Ellie and her lover had violated company ethics policies, improper disclosure, unreported relationships, falsified travel expenses. Within a week, internal investigations began. Anonymous tips. Digital receipts. They didn't stand a chance. They were suspended pending review. Not just for cheating. For betraying more than their marriages. That night, I got a message from Brianna. Thank you. I don't feel crazy anymore. I feel free. I replied. Same. In the end, I wasn't left with rage. Or bitterness. Just space. Space to rebuild. To breathe. To start again, not because I wanted to erase the past, but because I finally saw a future without pretending everything was fine. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just surviving. I was healing.